Alright, greetings and welcome. My name is Aaron Craig with Beyond Us Games, and we are jumping into part 4 of making a top-down shooter here live on YouTube. So where we left off was I had a screen splatter that we're going to use for a health effect, and I went and did just a little bit of editing on it before I started this stream and outside of the live. So we had a different one last time, but I like this one much better because it doesn't cover the center of the screen so that you can see it a lot easier. Like, I think the player will be able to actually be visible in this, which will work a lot better. So what I'm going to do now is work on setting this up as a health system and being able to like put it on the screen, make it flash, make it more solid as the player takes damage. So let's go ahead and get started on that, and then if you want to see anything specific after that, then just let me know. So okay, so for the OBJ player, we already have a health variable, and we have I believe we're taking damage from the enemy bullet, but right now we're not doing anything with that damage. So, like, you know, we can get down to negative 1,000 and it does nothing. So we're going to set up a system here for checking health. So what I want to do is have it kind of be more solid based on the amount of health that they're missing. So instead of just creating a bunch of if statements that say, like, if health is between 8 and 10, make it this, and if it's between 6 or 5 and 7, make it this solid, so forth. We can actually just use the amount of health that we have as like the opacity for it. So the first thing that we have to do is make sure that this is going to fit onto our screen, because right now it is 2048 by 1536. So that's a pretty good size. I think that will fit. Right now we have our room at 1920 by 1080. And so that's certainly larger, and yeah, I guess we'll just see what happens if we try to like apply that entire thing on there, and then we can play around with the actual size and shape of it as we get going. So for the player, we are going to need a draw event as well. Actually, we're probably going to just do it inside of the draw event. Draw health overlay. So we'll continue to draw self. We don't want to forget that. And then we're going to draw sprite. Yeah, we need to do draw sprite extended because we need to actually be able to choose the alpha that we're going to be using. So the sprite is going to be SPR blood screen, subimage of 0. X will be... Well, we actually want it right basically in the middle of the room. So, well, we want it on... The camera's going to follow the player, so it makes sense to put it right in the middle of the player. So just always on our X and Y. We'll see if that works. We might actually want to put this into a draw GUI so that we're just drawing, you know, on the screen at the same time all the time. That might work too. So, scale is just going to be 1 and 1. Rotation is going to be 0, I believe. I'll double check that. I believe 0 is just the default rotation that we have there. Rotation 0 is the right way up. Okay, yeah. Don't want to rotate that at all. Color is... Oh, darn it. I already exited out of that. Let's look at the color. C white is normal. So I don't want to change the color because we already made it red inside of the actual sprite editor, so we don't need to do anything more there. And then the alpha is going to be based on our health, but alpha is from 0.0 to 1, so we need to do my health, I think, divided by 100 should work, because our health is starts at 10, goes down. That's probably not gonna work. Let's do 10, see how that goes. So when we're at full health, we don't want to be seeing this at all. And wow, that is really trippy. Okay, let's go with a draw GUI then, because that is not exactly what I was expecting on that. it moves around, and that is messed up. So I'm going to cut this out of here. I'm going to delete just the draw event because we don't need it anymore. And let's just do 0 and 0 and see if that works. I think I might just do like the middle of the room, so room width, room height. Yeah. So let's go with... Actually, what we're going to want is the viewport. So just the middle of the viewport is what we're going to want there. So view width, and yeah, so we're doing H, so we're going to do 0. So we're doing the width of the port first, and then we're going to do view H port, and because we're using viewport 0, it should put it right. Well, I think it might need to divide that by 2. Let's take a look. Okay, so that's over there. Yeah, let's divide that by 2 on each of them, and then that should put that right in the middle of the room. Kind of no matter what size it is, yeah. So even if we move around, it'll always look like that. So, and that looks alright. It doesn't, I think it could probably use a little more, and you can see that some of the color did... Oh, as we take damage though, it is changing. It's just doing the opposite of what we want. So we may need to... It might work to actually change our health system. Let's see. We're going to want this... So I want it to start at full opacity so that you can't see it at all. And then you start taking more damage. So... What if we just put my health in here? How would that work? Yeah, that's still right there. So let's take a quick look at alpha and make sure that we're using that correct. Okay. The alpha of the sprite from 0 to 1, where 0 is transparent and 1 is opaque. Okay. So that's the problem with that, is that as you get less, it makes more sense. So if we want to use this system, I think what we may actually have to do is do a little bit of a backwards system. So like where our health bar is actually starting at 0, and then as we take damage, we increase our health. That way, as we take damage, the screen will start turning bloody. So it starts at 0, and as we take damage, yeah, it shows up more. Now, it's very static, but you can still see, you can still move around, but it is, it's overlaid above them, which is kind of what we want there. So, I think that works. It's a good start. It lets us see kind of what's going on. Now, we're going to add in a restorative property. So, we're going to check to see if we haven't taken damage in a recent while. So, probably what we'll end up doing is putting in like power-ups in here so that we can like restore health when we walk over them. But for now, I'm just going to make sure that we can restore the health if we haven't taken damage recently. So, let's create a variable of hit recently equals false, and inside of here we're going to say hit recently equals true, and then we're going to set probably just in the step event hit recently we'll call it health restore timer, and we're going to set this equal to 60 for now, so that after 1 second of not taking, well, we'll set it to 2. Well, 2 times, what is that? game speed. There we go. So basically, after 3 seconds of not taking any damage, we will start restoring health. So if health restore timer oh wait, we need to have a way of just checking. Alright, we need to have a timer, we need to have like a cap on that. So health restore timer makes sense that it would actually be the timer, so we're going to set that equal to 0. And then time to restore health, we'll set that equal to 3 seconds. So inside of our step, so if health restore timer is greater than or equal to time to restore health, then we'll start restoring our health. Slowly but surely, we'll say health, my health minus equals 1, and health restore timer equals 0. And then just in general, health restore timer plus equals 1. So it goes up by 1 every time, and then it gets reset once we heal for 1. So we can test this out and see if that's working properly. So we take damage, but we're not actually losing any health. Okay, so we messed up something. Here, let's take a look at that. Minus, yeah, so we start at 0, so we want to decrease our health. Makes sense. What am I missing here? Don't need the alarms open. Health restored timer. Maybe I'm not doing the math right on that. So let's see. Yeah, so that is just triggering immediately. So that's not going to work, because that is just not working. So, okay, game speed, FPS. Maybe that doesn't do exactly what I thought it did. I was pretty sure that's what it was. Okay, so we took some damage. Ooh. Okay. Now we heal up, so let's take some more damage. Okay, but we're healing up even though we are taking damage. Yeah, so I don't want to be able to restore health within like the last few seconds if I've been hit. So hit recently equals true. Oh, I'm not actually using that variable at all. So, and hit recently is equal to false. So how do we set it to... Okay. So down here we are just... Let's put this first, actually. So down here we're always increasing the restore timer, and we're checking to see if we have not been hit recently. So if... Well, actually... We might not even need this variable, because if we just set the health restore timer to reset here, we don't actually need a boolean at all, because we can just use the value, like if we've been hit, just reset that timer, and then we're not gonna be able to be healed because the timer's not down at all. Okay, there we go. So then now we start healing because we haven't been hit. we get hit and we stop healing for a little while. So that works great. Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking for. This is a very early prototype, but it works. It is a visual indicator that looks really cool. What we might also do is, to add a little bit of effect to it, is like actually make it flash a little bit. So right now it's just a static image covering the screen, but it might look really cool if it was like pulsating, just to kind of draw your attention and make it even more obvious that you're taking damage. I think that would look kind of cool. So we're drawing this on here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw it again. And this time we're going to like move it back and forth to draw it. Let's see. I could rotate it a little bit. I could move it over. You could make it more opaque, more clear. I think I'll draw it as maybe just a different color. Right now we're drawing it just as the default color that we've got on there, but it might look kind of cool to not do that. So I'm going to screen flash. We're going to set up a variable inside of here and actually like set this so that this continually increases, and then when it's at a certain amount is greater than, let's go with 30 for now. So we're going to draw this sprite almost exactly the same spot and everything, but this time we're going to do it as red, and even though it's already red, it's going to be a different color, so it should come up differently. So let's see how that looks. 30 might be a little too much. It's going to be like twice a second. But that might actually not be too much. See, it's pulsating and flashing at the player. I think that looks pretty cool. It gives it a sense of urgency, like you need to be warned. So that it might actually make more sense to use that as like a warning indicator instead of just all the time. If we put this in here, and so when our health gets about halfway dead, so is greater than 5. So our health is starting at 0. So just so you know, if you're tuning in, make sure that keep that in mind, because we're using our health as the actual opacity here. So this will only start flashing when we're over halfway dead, and I think that's a much better plan, because it's kind of hard to tell how much damage we've taken here, but if we start flashing, then it's pretty obvious that, you know, we need to get away or we need to be careful because we're about to die. I think that looks pretty cool. Last thing I want to do is be able to actually die. So if my health, max health equals 10, it's greater than or equal to max health, instance destroy. So we'll kill ourselves, and for now, I guess we'll just restart. So destroying ourselves isn't that important there. And then we'll do this so that it always works. So it's greater than max health divided by 2. Okay. There we go. So now we should be able to take damage. It pulsates when we get low, and then we actually die. Cool. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, I think that looks really cool. The sprite itself could use a little bit of tweaking. Obviously not all that red got, all the white got turned to red, which is kind of unfortunate. Let's see. It's probably too late now. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. There's too many different shades of white and gray in here. Turning every single one to red is not really going to be worth it. But this is just a temporary sprite, so I think that still looks pretty cool. I like that. Cool. Alright, so that gives us a health system. So if you get anything that you want to see me work on next specifically, now is the time to shout it out, because we finished this one. I think it looks pretty good. We have a health system in place. Now we can kind of go on to anything else. So we have basically enemy AI set up as sentry turrets, which are these guys. But now we can move on to more advanced enemy AI, different guns, collisions, setting up actual tiles if we wanted to. There's still a lot we have to do, so, and only some of it depends on the actual order. So I don't see anyone giving any preferences, so I think what I'll do is setting up the actual tiles for like a room, because for me, looking at it and like playtesting it, it'll feel way more finished and polished if I actually have more than just a black background in there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And let's go into assets, top-down shooter, and I think I'm going to want just the sprite sheet itself, because if I use the sprite sheet of tiles, then I can maybe do some... I wonder if any of these would work for auto tiling. I can try that out. Go ahead and add this in here, and as a tile set we can make a tile set from this. So SPR, just call it tile set. I'm gonna call it TS. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just a tile set. I don't think I'm gonna have multiple tile sets. I think this is gonna be it. So I don't think it's necessary to name it something special, but whatever. Okay. So this is pretty large. There's a lot of tiles in here. I don't think any of these would work for auto tiling, but let's take a quick look. Probably first we need to make sure that we got the right size here, because these look fairly large. Nope. 64 by 64 with an offset, it looks like. Let me take a quick look and see if they have instructions. They have a license in here, but he doesn't have like what things are offset by or anything like that, so we just have to play around with that. Okay. That's certainly not correct. Well, maybe making this as an actual tile set is not going to work at all, because it's just a little bit off. Yeah, I'm not quite sure that this is... I think these are 64 by 64, but they might not be. Well, it'll be annoying to have to import them specifically as sprites. Okay, let's take a look at our rooms. Let's add a tile layer in here. It would be below that. So let's add in our tile set and just take a look at this. Yeah. Okay, that is just not right. Let me go into our actual sprite editor and see if let's just see how large these are, because it looks like they're all laid out exactly the same, and it looks like they're all 64 by 64. Yeah, they've got, they have spaces, like even these ones. So it looks like it's laid out correctly. So I just have to find what it is. So I think it's going to work fine. We just have to figure out exactly what the dimensions are that we actually want to use on this. And unfortunately, this first one I can't have access to in this tile sheet because of the way GameMaker uses tile sheets up here. But whatever, it's not a huge deal. Missing one unique green tile, I can bring that in as a sprite if necessary. Okay. Output border. Okay, so I think my problem is that the width of these is not 64. My guess is that the width of them is just a little bit different than the height. So well, maybe it's not. Okay, so that works just fine. So now tile separation of 6? No. Maybe there's a tile separation of 10. Okay. Separation of 10 on each. There we go. That's what I was doing. I was just using the tile offsets and that was messing it up. Okay. Much, much better. Perfect. Now we can come in here and set up an actual room that we can use, which will be cool. So I am not a great designer, so I'm going to go back to sample and take a look at what he's got here. So basically house settings with fields outside. Yeah. Okay, so we can certainly do that. So this is how that should look. Okay. Let's give that a try. I know a lot of people really enjoy doing tile set design and work and stuff like this, but to me it's just stressful, man, because I am not a good designer, and I know that. So let's make this one big house. I'm looking for just the top tile. Where are you? No. Alright. So, alright. Well, here's just the blank that we could overlay at the bottom there. That would probably work. Oh, I see. That's the one I'm looking for. That kind of brings that. The edges there. Okay. Now we need to actually have a way to get out of those, so I'm not going to want that on all of them. Okay. My mouse is not the best at scrolling, so there's a few issues there. Okay. So let's open that up a little bit there, so that way we can leave that area. Let's open up 2 sections over here, and we need to open up a couple sections over here. Definitely feel like I'm just missing... Okay. Yeah, they're around here. They're not where I expect them to be. Okay. We'll open up one large section right there. Alright, now where are the rest of those? So, there we go. And then, which one did I use for that? There we go. Okay, so we got just one kind of encapsulated room here that let's see. I'm not sure these guys can really move around inside of here very well. So I may need to double the size of that. Or... Nope. Don't want to shrink them. So I think we will double the size of this here. Which, let's go ahead and... Let's see. If we made this room just a little bit larger... No, we don't need a large room to start with. That's fine. Okay. I just need to open all of this up a little bit. This one is not enough. Once I actually know where some of those tiles are, it makes it a lot easier to find them a second time. And just knowing they exist help a lot too. Okay. Now what I want to do is actually put in like this top one, like right here. Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense. And then I want to have... Where's that blank one at? Where did you go? There you are. We'll have that open there. We'll have some open spots here. We'll have one there and one there. Okay. And then we need to put walls on the rest of them. And my guess is that there's a specific sprite for like that corner area. That doesn't look good. No. Almost. Okay, okay. Got it. There we go. Okay. Kenny is a great artist. He puts out some really phenomenal stuff. I haven't really done much in the way of actual design work with his stuff, but my first course was made with his space shooter assets, and for that we didn't need to do any level design, fortunately. It was all dynamic, and that made it fairly easy to do because it was just working with sprites, and that was a lot easier. Working with tile sets is a lot more difficult, but I definitely think we actually could have put this inside of a tile, an actual auto tiler. So I'll look into that on my own time because I think that will probably take me a little while to figure out exactly where they go. So I don't want to waste your time just doing that. So I'll see if I can get that figured out on my own because I think that would look really good and be way easier than what we're doing right here. Okay, the only thing that's off about this is that some of these ones don't have, I guess it's, yeah, these two specifically don't have like that line down there, which is weird. Nah, whatever. Okay, so we're going to set this up to be like the basic first level that we've got inside of here. I'm going to go ahead and cover this up here, and I'll add in some more stuff in just a second. Alright, so this is when we need to have like multiple levels of tiles, because when we want to put one on top of the other, we start getting into issues. So I'm going to name this ground tiles, or actually probably just base tiles makes more sense. I'm going to add another tile sheet, and then we can put some of the tiles that we want like on top, and then, you know, it won't cause any of those issues that we were just seeing. So I'll add a couple, what looks like tables inside of here. And then we can add some furniture. Now, the question is, can we rotate tiles once we've actually placed them? Because I'm not actually sure. Seems like we'd be able to. But if we can't, then I guess we'll just do the limitation that we have there and set the tiles kind of like that. Okay. I'm sure there's a way to rotate tiles. I'm just not sure what it is at the moment. Let's go ahead and let's see. This is, I'm thinking this is more of like an office corporate setting, so I'm not going to put like a bed inside of here. I don't think that makes much sense. I am going to change up the furniture style though, just so that it looks a little different. And we can throw in a couple of crates. Why not? So I'm being very careful about where I put these things. I want to make sure I've got two sets of spaces in between for navigation, because we're going to set up some actual terrain so that you can't just you know, run through these things, because they're actually going to matter. So there'll be a little bit of an open area here, but I think this looks pretty nice for now. That'll be our first level. We'll go ahead and name this room, basically the tutorial, so teaching the player how to play. And we're going to set up these zombies as super basic sentries that are just walking around. So let's go ahead and position them where we're going to want. So each one is just going to walk down their corridor, or basically just follow a path. Let's see. Rotation of -90. There we go. I think if we just set up one path inside of here for each of these enemies, we can have them just start along the path at different amounts, and that would probably work just fine. I guess just 180. Okay, so let's go ahead and try out using a path here, because paths can be fun. I'm going to name it P tutorial. Now, what you can do with paths is actually overlay a room onto it. At least that's what I was able to do before. So let's see if we can do that again. So, oh man. Was that in GameMaker Studio 2? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. If we add a path, we can select a path and then be able to actually add points. So if we add the points in the path itself, you can see that they show up here, but because we can't see like exactly where we want them and I don't want to have to memorize coordinates, we can put in the path inside of here and show them and then see the coordinates right here, and then we can see like exactly where it goes, which is what I want. Perfect. So we can start each of these units, each of these enemies along the path at a certain spot, so then they're just navigating around the room. And so we can do a no, don't want to do a smooth curve. We want to do just a straight line. What we'll eventually put in is smarter AI with actual like object collision, but because all of this is just tile sets right now, and I don't want to deal with tile set collisions, I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm going to set up a fake collision inside of here, so to show you just a couple different ways to do it. So if I make a collision object, I can add a sprite, and I'm sure you've seen this before, and maybe you've even done it, is just, you know, setting an invisible sprite on the side of there. And I want to change the size to 32 by 32. And we'll give it a pink fill, that way it's semi-transparent pink fill. Bring down the alpha. That didn't do anything. There we go. Okay, so that gives us just a pink overlay that we can see there. Now, I'm going to put that on here. And we need to add a collision with that inside of our player. And this will keep the player just from not being able to run into it. And we'll actually set up the collisions in our movement code, because right now our movement code is super basic and we're not checking collisions at all. So we'll check that out in just a minute. But for now, we're going to go ahead and go to instances. We'll add a new layer here. And we'll call this collisions. And then we'll add in those. And I'm wondering if we should have just changed it to 62 by 62, but I think it's better if we do it like this. You gotta change the grid size. Oh, no, I still want that on there. Change the grid size so that then you can fill it in. There we go. And I can just hold Alt to make another one there. And so obviously these collisions are not going to be pixel perfect because they're a little bit larger, but they still, I think for the most part, look really good. And if you wanted to look a little bit better, you can actually like leave a little bit of a border. You see this collision right here isn't touching right there, so our player will technically be able to touch this object, but it'll look fine. For this one, I'll put 2 here so you can touch like the top of it. And that's just kind of how we'll do that. For the tables, I'm going to make them total squares. And we can actually use these collisions for our enemies as well. If we wanted to set up like move towards point, we could set that up as well. And we might. This is right now just super basic. So set up the collisions on the walls. Oop, didn't want to rotate that. There we go. So if you have a really large level, then this is not like the optimal solution that you want to be doing. This is just kind of an easy fix if you want to get collisions testing up and running really quick. And that's kind of what I want to do here. And this is just the first level. What we may do is eventually come back and put in the system we're going to use throughout the entire game inside of this level as well. But for right now, I think this should work just fine. And the last one is a collision on the outside. And that one I don't need to worry about making small or anything like that. Okay. So that is perfect. So that's collisions throughout our entire thing there. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. We haven't set up pathing for the enemy yet or anything like that, so that's not going to be working. But okay. So we aren't actually colliding with them yet. That makes sense. We are going to set up a collision with this with bullets, though. With other... So we're going to destroy bullets by both the player and by the enemy. Because that just makes sense. They can't go through walls. So let's test that out really quick, make sure it works. Yep. So they can't. So they can see us through walls. So we'll probably want to change that. But they get destroyed on the wall, so that's perfect. Okay. I'm gonna set this equal. No, we don't need to set that equal to solid. What we need to do is set up actual collision checking inside of our movement code that we've got. Hello there, youthful. How's it going? Alright. So we have this movement code, which works great for what we're doing now, and now we need to incorporate collision checking into it. And the way that I found collision checking to work best is that we have collision checking first. So we're going to look to see if our movement, or we set up where we want to move, and then we check collisions, and then we actually do the moving. But what that means is that we need to actually take out this line of code here inside of all of these, because we don't actually want to set our speed to do anything until we're sure that we're not going to be colliding with anything if we were to actually move forward that amount. So let's go ahead and see if we just take out speed from all of this. And then okay, so we can't just set speed equal to move speed, because move speed is always gonna equal something. So we need to set speed equal to This is when the problem of like getting systems up and running as quickly as you can come into, you know, difficulties, because if I want a movement system that just works, I will throw it in there, just patch it together, band-aid whatever solution. But then when you come back to it, you're like, oh, this works right now, but now I need to add in collisions or pathing or tile sets. Like, you have to add in more things, and it becomes a lot harder. So I need to take this movement code and set it up so that I can add in both collisions, and I'm going to need to be able to, in the future, probably do tile set collisions as well, which is going to be kind of the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a variable inside of here called current speed equals 0, and we're going to have move speed, and in player move we're going to, if we're actually pressing forward, we're going to say current speed equals move speed, and that's what we're going to put inside of each one of these if we're actually moving. But I'm going to go back and replace speed where it was so that I know which ones to, where I need to put it. Okay. And then if we're not moving at all, then we're going to set current speed equal to 0. And then what we can do down here is actually set speed equal to current speed. And if we just use that right here, it should actually work perfectly fine. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It works just fine. So now we have a system where we have our actual movement after we have all the checking. So like we're saying, if we want to move forward, that's great. We're going to set it so that we will move forward as long as there's no problem with that. So check to see which way we're moving. And then we're going to check collisions, and then finally we're going to actually move the player down here. So for the collision checking, I think we're going to do probably just the usual while loops that bring you closer to the wall, and if you're there, then you're there, and if not, then you keep moving. So yeah, I know what I need to look for. Right now I need to look for obj collision, and what we might also do is create a script specifically for collision checking. That way we can pass in different objects to check for collision with, tile sets, stuff like that. But right now, again, we'll just get it working right here. So we're going to say while... Oh man, I'm blanking. Hold on. Let me see. So where do I have that in here? I'm looking for another project that I have that, but I don't have it right now. Darn. It'd be a lot easier if I could just, take a look at that, what I've already done, because making it up as you go again with this kind of collision checking is kind of confusing. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that project and grab that, actually. That way I can look at that code and not spend time debugging things that I've already spent a lot of time debugging. So I'm going to pull up Cave Boy, the project I did with Ben Anderson, also known as You Heartbeast. Hey there, Ezra. I'm going to pull that up because that actually has kind of the exact collisions that I want to be using in here. So I can just take a look at that. Okay. So this is the collision kind of checking script that we want here. So it's broken down into horizontal and vertical collisions, which we're going to have to change a little bit because our collision is just, well, I mean, we're going to have collisions from every angle, but our direction is going to be what we're checking it, because we're always going to be moving in the direction of our built-in property direction. And so I don't think we're going to need to have horizontal and vertical collisions, because we're not actually checking like specifically X and Y. We're going to be checking directly in front of where we're moving, whether that be forward or backward. So yeah, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Okay. So we're going to say if place meeting. Okay. So it is going to be... Gotta figure out exactly how we want to do this, because we need to put in an X and Y coordinate. And sometimes we'll be moving forward, up, down, left, strafing left, right, whatever. Which means that we have to actually be checking based on direction, not based on X and Y coordinates. Obviously, we still have to check X and Y coordinates, but we also have to be checking it based on the direction that we're moving. So, well, let's see. Let's see, direction returns something from 0 to 360. Or 359.9, I believe the actual correct amount is. So 0 is right, 90 being up, 180 being left, 270 down. So, in whatever direction that we're moving, we can be checking... This is actually going to be kind of tough. So, what I'm going to do is, we're actually right near the end of this stream anyway, so I'm going to play around with this because I think this is going to take a little bit of tweaking, and tomorrow, when I pick this up again, I will let you know what I've come up with, and I'll probably do it live then as well. Tomorrow the stream is going to be starting at 2:30 in the afternoon, PST, my time, so if you want to join me for that, that would be awesome. I think we're going to end right here, right as we're about to start checking collisions. But what we've done so far is set up a decent looking room. We created a path that we haven't implemented yet, but we've got collisions on the bullets on the with our invisible collisions that we have there. And so that's a start. I think we got a room set up. We used a tile set, which is great. So yeah, I'm going to play around with what we need to do for tomorrow, and I will let you know how that goes out and what I come up with. So, thank you very much for joining me on this stream. I very much appreciate it. If there's anything you want to see done in this game, then make sure you tune in on the next stream and give me a shout out about what you want to see or how you'd like this game to progress. So, that's what I got for you today. Thank you very much, and as always, have fun making great games, and I'll talk to you later.